we go, Game Around. What's up, gamers? It's I, the People's Machine, come at you with another exciting edition of the Gaming Roundtable. And today, on December 18th, we are talking about Cyberpunk 2077. There's a lot to talk about with this game. It's all over YouTube, from your Jimquisitions and Young Yaos to your Angry Joes and to your Gamer Girl and to your... About everybody's doing something on Cyberpunk, and why the hell not are the Unpaid Gamers doing anything? Well, we are tonight. And joining us is the founder of Unpaid Gamers, Post-Human Guy, my friend John. What do you say? Welcome to the Gaming Roundtable.
What's up, man? I'm finally in. So
yes,
this is really our first, I guess, official time, because the last time didn't work, and we've been fighting technical difficulties for the past hour, I think. So
yeah, it's been pretty crazy. They don't make it easy, even though it seems like it's a no-brainer easy to do this share party chat audio so we can talk. But thank you for...
nice and pissed off for ready for Cyberpunk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I saw a guy actually did a review on it, and he had the Fallout thing. It said Cyberpunk 2076. Gotta laugh. But no, here's the guys real quick. The Post-Human Guy, I want him to check out. I want everybody on the Unpaid Gamers on YouTube check out his leisure plays. And what you been playing lately on your leisure play? I know you did Empire of Sin recently.
Yeah. So I've been trying to do a bit of a mix of PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Nice.
The Xbox Series X I stream on Twitch and then export over to YouTube, so it won't really show up as a live broadcast. But as far as game-wise, PS5, what have I been playing? I just got through Miles. I was playing Empire of Sin, and I think next, I don't really know, actually, on that. But I have been broadcasting Halo, the Master Chief Collection, and then
Fantastic.
Of course Cyberpunk.
Well, that's awesome, and definitely check out those leisure plays, people who are subscribers and followers of Unpaid Gamers and Post-Human Guy. And please check out the man, the myth, the Apex Legend, Banlost. They're still streaming the new season of Apex Legends. He's really good at the game, and watch some of his stuff. It's amazing. And we are here at the Gaming Roundtable, and we're talking about Cyberpunk 2077. More specifically, news flash, everybody. If you haven't heard already, it's all over Yahoo and everything. It's a big news story. It's even hit mainstream because Cyberpunk 2077 was recently, as of today, removed from the Sony store. Sony trying to get those refunds out there, and apparently now Microsoft is doing the same. And I want to talk about the PS4 and Xbox One specifically, and mainly because in my announcement video I talked about doing a Cyberpunk thing, and as you see here, this is the PS4 that I am playing live for you right now. As a matter of fact, let me run.
Hold on now. Let's before you get into that though.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit.
Sure.
Because I think it's important to address the hype first.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea.
Right.
Good idea.
So, what? I guess what were you looking forward to the most with this game?
For me, what I was most excited for is because you know my love of the Deus Ex series, and I said, and I think we may even disagreed with it. When it came out, the Human Revolution on 360, but nevertheless, I know you went back and you played through it, you liked it. I know for me, I thought it was, I think that was 2011 when it came out. I still felt then and now that it was probably the best game released that year. I've always loved that technical Blade Runner-esque like type environment, cyberpunk-like environment. That's the closest I was going to get to. I had many moons ago played, way back in high school, I played the actual paper and dice game of this. So cyberpunk type, neo-noir, Shadowrun, those type of things, those have always been something that fascinated me. And I was most looking forward to this game because there's been a lot of those type of games, but never really based in the Cyberpunk universe. And I was looking forward to exploring this open world, but not even more so with the fact that the game city had a lot of verticality. There's a lot of just, up and down, here, go there. And I just was looking forward to it because, I really enjoyed the last two Deus Ex games a lot, and I really enjoyed the setting and the environment. And that's what I was most like seeing pictures of it, seeing, people talking to somebody in a bar, and just the actual expansiveness of it, and thinking, I'm ready to get into this world. I'm ready to see what this world has to offer because it's a unique setting, and it's minis, and we talked about it. Every game is about open world now, but to have an open world of this caliber, to have this look and feel and design, to me is unique. And I was really looking forward to this kind of dark, neon splattered city and seeing what was out there to explore, the nooks and crannies and all that stuff. And I don't know, that's what I was most looking forward to. I loved the settings, the pictures that I saw, the vibrancy of it. I was like, man, I can't wait to get into this game. I want to see this city. I want to see what this night city's all about. What about you?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I love any good RPG for one, right? Open world RPG, specifically this new, I would say new next gen format. But open world RPGs have kind of been a thing for a bit, but they, I don't know. I guess when we would kind of start that on maybe a Daggerfall or whatever back in the day, but that's not really the point. So, this modern form of RPG that we're getting, for one. Cyberpunk within itself, yeah, you mentioned Deus Ex, and I remember you playing the first Deus Ex on the PC like years and years ago.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. I didn't really get into it then, but I did, however, get into it on the 360 though. Human Revolution. I mean, that was an excellent game.
That was fantastic.
So, but yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of Cyberpunk games in general. There's been a handful throughout the years, and for a genre that is so loved, and to have, some really good anime and some movies, there's still not a lot of those.
No.
So, anything that kind of explores that type of world is super cool to me. I mean, I love, science fiction, and I love post-apocalyptic stuff. And the cyberpunk kind of realm seems like a blend of those.
Yeah.
So, the chance to explore that kind of world seems, I don't know, I mean, it's been right up my alley and something I've been looking forward to for, ever since they announced it. I mean, CD Projekt Red with the Witcher series, they make solid RPGs. I realize that's a bad statement right now, but they make really good RPGs, right? So, all they showed initially was the one teaser picture of a car and like Skyline, and I was like, okay, I'm in, And then the other part for me personally is I freaking love Keanu Reeves, like anything he's in, and leading up to this release, seeing how big his involvement is in this game kind of sold me too. Not only does he lend his voice and his likeness, and not just as a cameo, it's a large part of the game, without giving any spoilers. And then on top of that, he's into like really kind of high-end motorcycles, right?
Yes.
And assisted in designing and manufacturing them, and then they lend those to the game. So those, arch motorcycles you're riding are like his
designs,
right?
Yeah, which is really cool.
It's almost kind of an homage to like Keanu Reeves and a celebration of him in general too.
Yeah,
so
no kidding,
all that other stuff, and then just all his stuff. Yeah, I was stoked for this game.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's interesting what has come out about this game, and let's address a couple things. First and foremost, this is very brief. So I'm playing PS4 Cyberpunk 2077. When the game came out, it was 101 point something gigs. I found out through some research that the initial size of the game was just a hair over 60 gigs. The rest of it was a major update. They just put it all in as once when the game launched. And then what happened was they did another update like a day later. And I had the game hard crash on me a few times. And it was disappointing. I wasn't like anywhere in the game to be like, oh no, I lost my progress. I fell across where it's like, wow, this character's textures didn't even load in for like several minutes. You know, I would jump in my car and the camera wouldn't switch. It would take 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds for it to switch over to, and that was day one. And then the new patch hit, and it was like that stuff went away. And I had let's see here, the day before I was playing, I had one little thing happen, which was one like character model popped in when I was walking around, just randomly, boom, there I was, okay. And then I had where I was in a conversation with a person and I had to talk to them, and like they were speaking, but it was like it took 20 or 30, it was 20 or 30 seconds behind. So I thought I was stuck in a loop, thought I had to reload, and I didn't. It just eventually fixed itself, and then it was fine. It's the only instance I felt. Right now, just walking through the city at the moment. This is not a story mission I'm doing. I have to go to the bar or whatever. It's pretty much rocking it at 30 frames. I'm running right now, and it's basically 30 frames, maybe 28, 30 frames, which is to be expected. Now, just to say that one patch, it was what really blew me away was, I'm not saying that everyone probably had the same experience I'm having, where now it's running halfway decent. It just depends. But like as far as I'm concerned,
you're on a base PS4.
Yeah, I'm on a base, not a Pro. It's a base PS4.
So it should, according to the media, be the worst experience.
Yeah, and yes, it crashed. Yes, I'm telling you that I had a few bugs, like I just said. But overall, if you're watching my gameplay footage, look, I'm turning the camera while I'm walking, buttery smooth, about 30 frames. Even though it's night and there isn't a whole lot of people around, the point I'm trying to make is that it's still, even with a lot of people around, it still runs fine. What I'm running into, going back into more populated areas, there's neon everywhere. There is so much stuff going on in this game. I want to say to those of you out there in the community that were just incredibly butthurt about the game, I just want to remind you all, and I said this in my announcement video, that the PS4 and Xbox One, great systems, they are nearly 8 years old. And if you truly expected it to run flawlessly and with no problems whatsoever in a game this big and this magnitude, and the different decisions and all the stuff that plays into it with this game, if you truly felt that on hardware that now is considered obsolete, it was probably obsolete 2-3 years ago, but obsolete in general, I mean, you're fooling yourself. You're stupid to let a few bugs and minor hiccups, and again, yes, some people had some bad experiences, for you to say, I got to refund it, it's just unplayable. I actually saw videos where people, websites that people make money off of YouTube, that's their job, it's unplayable. I'm like, well, I've been able to play it since day one, and other than the crashes that made it unplayable, I just loaded back in and played it, because the game world and the dynamic things that go on in it, and just the stuff that happens, even in the very beginning of the game where you have to rescue the girl and all that stuff, gives you that little taste. It's compelling, and I'm just sad that people are just so cannot get past that, a bug or crash or whatever's going on. Just reload the damn game. It saves like every couple seconds. So just reload whatever. I mean, come on.
Well, so I got some stuff to add to that, and mostly aligned with, but I get a little bit different view on parts of it. But before I get into that, though, talk about my first experience. It's I can't really weigh in the same way as a lot of people can based on first impressions and current play, because I'm playing the game on the Xbox Series X.
Yes.
So, I initially had it pre-ordered for PS4. As I talked about being stoked for this game, I seen the opportunity early on to play it early. So I canceled my PlayStation pre-order, downloaded on the Xbox, changed my region settings to New Zealand, and played it like a bunch of hours early.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. A bunch of people are doing that. Yeah.
So, I ended up with the Xbox copy instead of the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, now, as a happy accident, apparently that's the best version to play it.
Okay, well, yeah, fair enough.
It seems like most people who comment, who are playing on the Xbox Series X, are having very little problems.
Yeah.
So, it seems to kind of be the most stable version for some reason. And maybe, now I suspect it's probably the most like the PC.
Yes.
Because Microsoft Xbox, Microsoft Windows, I don't know. But I feel like it's probably a little bit closer than PlayStation.
That's a fair assessment, yeah.
Now, the other part of that is the Xbox Series X is the only console that has the option for quality and performance settings. So, that's kind of familiar terms going around with next gen, but for the people who don't know, performance typically in next gen games prioritizes 60 frames a second, to where quality usually prioritizes ray tracing and graphical enhancements, right? So I leave mine on quality because I want it to look as good as it can.
Yeah.
So in theory, mine should probably have, if it's going to have problems, it should have them, right?
Yes.
Because I'm not on performance.
Yeah, yeah.
So I loaded up the game. Glitchy, yes. I've encountered some glitches. So my experiences with that are kind of goofy stuff. Like I would go out of the apartment and I would see somebody walking and I would see head and feet but no body.
Yeah.
And then a few seconds later, the body would load in. Now that only happened one time. I've seen people just kind of show up or kind of clip through things or disappear. More seriously, I've had doors that wouldn't open in quests. I've had, some other like hindrances in quest. Like I had to just go, like you say, it saves all the time, and it literally does. Like if you go to load game, there's freaking a long list of like 20 autosaves. So, I just go to the one before that last action and like it fixes it.
Yeah.
So it's an annoyance, but it's not really hindering my ability to play. It's definitely playable, and it has crashed 0 times for me.
Very well. Very nice.
So, that I guess is, the Xbox Series X view and my take. So I understand that a lot of people are having issues, and I'm not discounting that. And, you certainly had it. I know, like the first day you texted me and said it crashed like 17 times.
Yeah, it was insane. I was like, what? And it wasn't even, weirdly enough, I didn't have any other bugs. It just crashed a bunch. Now, I am going to preface this by saying that I have had problems with my PlayStation. So it could have been something. I don't want to say it's all Cyberpunk. I know a lot of it probably was, but I have had some issues. It's one of the reasons that I replaced my internal hard drive. I had problems with the internal, and because I use an external, and I'm just telling you, I love having the external, but you cannot. That thing has to pretty much sit still. You can't like knock it or anything. If it's even remotely loose, it's a done deal. But yes, it did crash a lot. It did, and I don't want to. It's one of those things that it was like, man, I can't believe it crashed again, But it never really changed my mind. I still want to play it. I still want to get into this game world.
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
In a lot of those issues and stuff, in my experience, and again, only in my experience, even if it did crash a handful of times, that's nothing outside of what Elder Scrolls or Fallout or anything would do. I mean, Miles Morales, excellent game, mostly solid. It crashed a couple times on me on PS5.
Yeah.
So, games will do that. So I don't know. Speaking to what you had said about the message of some of these people, now I guess my only kind of rebuttal to that would be to where I get where some people feel differently is, these next gen consoles that this game's running better on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had mentioned they had just got the development kits like last year, right?
Yeah, pretty much like a year and a half ago. Yeah.
And this game was being worked on for so long, like it was targeted for these systems.
Yes.
Right, like it was supposed to be a PS4 game, an Xbox One game.
Yes.
So I do feel like it should run better on that.
Okay, that's a fair statement.
And
yeah,
I think I get there's lots of internal stuff that we're not privy to, right?
Obviously,
In game development, right? The publishing, the marketing, the CEOs, the developers, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's where the breakdown happened mostly.
Yeah.
As we know, because the date was there, it was delayed twice. Then it comes out and it's a buggy mess. Everybody freaks out.
Yeah.
I seen one statement when they delayed it the last time that was saying they just found out like that day, like everybody else, being, I guess, the marketing team or something,
yeah.
Media team. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So there was obviously some type of breakdown there.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just feel like a lot of that appreciation and understanding's kind of been lost in the gaming industry anyway.
Yeah.
Between the consumers and the developers. I'm not trying to let them off the hook necessarily, but I feel like there's a lot of kind of things that we still don't really know, right?
Yeah, and to add to that, okay, so it's a well-known fact now, a week after launch, that CD Projekt Red, did not let anybody see the PS4 and Xbox One versions running. Nobody saw that. One of their management team that worked on the game, whatever, basically said that they were confident that it should run, fairly well on the old systems, and because, like you said, they were originally built for that. Now, not letting people see that running and all that stuff, people of course are quick to say, well, they knew it was a shit show and they intentionally hid that, and its intent is the key word here, intent. Now, the reason that I don't necessarily go 100% all in on that, as like, oh, they were shady and they were sitting around twirling their mustaches, right, going like, ha 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 ha, we want our pre-orders. Here's the deal. So if that was the case, they would never came out and said, yeah, we'll refund it for you, right? And B, I think they were confident in their abilities as developers and programmers that it would run fairly well. I think what they, in my personal opinion, miscalculated was, man, this game is it's one of those situations. It's bigger than and a lot more complex than they maybe had originally realized, and as they added to it and so if they really were trying to like, oh, we're going to hide it from them because we want to get pre-orders and sales, and when it comes out and it doesn't run well, who gives a shit, they would never had immediately apologized, immediately came out on the meeting, that the conference call they had, and said, hey, we don't care how much money it takes, it will be fixed. They would never had gotten, hey, we will refund your money, we'll take care of it for you. Because if they were truly hiding it just to get the money and pre-orders, they wouldn't have said anything. They would have just been like, we'll fix it later.
Right. And food for thought. I mean, okay, assuming that it was this big malicious act, I mean, we're not in the mysterious days of video games anymore, right?
Yeah.
Social media is this, it's like games heard around the world, right?
Yes.
Everybody knows about all this stuff. So, what was it like? Was it like 8 million pre-orders or something?
It was 8 million pre-orders, and interestingly enough, on those, that's counting all the versions.
I think over half was PC.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about the 8 million, it's the first game that beat GTA 5 by 1 million. which is unbelievable to think about, you know?
So, it's that sheer numbers game, right? Like, what good is it doing anybody to deceive PS4 and Xbox One users when they know it's going to come up when it comes out?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's been, with the Fallout, okay, now, right or wrong, and I'm not saying it is at this point, but, all these bad examples, right? Anthem, Mass Effect Andromeda, Fallout 76. There's all these things to where gamers are voicing their dissatisfaction, and there's major repercussions, right? So if they're being deceptive, I mean, what are they really out to accomplish? I don't think, to what you're saying, I don't think it was really malicious. I mean,
I don't think it was intentional.
The game sucks on those systems.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, that scale grew more than what they thought, and that's kind of what you want as to happen to these games is they grow in scope, they get better, they get bigger. As you go along, you want more content, you want more features, you want more and more. And then with 8 million pre-orders and it comes out, that's a much larger testing group than probably what they're game testing.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And you had to also remember that you're talking about, so Witcher 3 had 300 people who worked on it. This game had 500, 200 more than usual, and they had hired people in different things. You also have to remember that while the coding might be similar, they are literally having to do PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One. That's 5 different things to work on at once. Now, it all started on PC, and then you got to do all this stuff to convert it, however that works, right? And you're thinking, man, that's a lot of systems. Yeah,
depending on the language, it can just be as simple as exporting tools within the, the SDK.
Yeah.
But it's not that simple either,
Yeah.
There's tuning that has to be done, somewhere along the way.
You have to also think about it in this respect too. Let's go back when you talked about Anthem, you talked about Fallout 76. You talked about Mass Effect Andromeda, and 76 was really rough. AC Unity took well over a year to fix. We're talking patches every month, because that's how bad that game was. So bad that the president of the company, Ubisoft, issued an apology himself and said, well, they never offered refunds, but they did give like a crazy amount of stuff away for free for like a long time, and AC Unity turned out to be really, really good, but it took them over a year worth of patches to make it work. It was so bad, and we all know there's tons of memes on that. Now in all of this, 76 completely fucked at launch. Anthem, bare bones, on top of the glitches and everything else. Destiny 1.
That one performed pretty well.
Yeah, and it did. It did.
It was just missing content.
Yeah, it was missing content, and when it launched, the beta was a terrible launch, and there was a lot of dropouts and loading times with infinite loading screens and different things that was going on. Now, here's the thing. Destiny 1, was vanilla and whatever. Even you look at No Man's Sky, you look at any game that had a fairly large budget, companies big and small, win, but you know what? Like, there wasn't this whole pulled from the store. Those games were never pulled from the store. Those games, Sony's like, refund? What's that? I mean, Microsoft was like, whatever. So I'm like, this is the first game I have seen where they just wholeheartedly were like, refund, we'll pull it from the store. Because, like, people are so upset, you can't even buy it digitally. I have it digitally. But the point is like, they didn't do that for the other games that were like a mitigated disaster. And I'm going to tell you right now, for Cyberpunk, as people's been watching my gameplay here, I'm basically running pretty good. There's no, ain't seen any flubs. I don't know if you've seen any. I haven't seen anything to be like, oh shit, this is like terrible, and it's all this stuff going on because of a couple patches, the day one patch and the day after the day one patch. It's like Fallout 76 took forever to get a patch out, and other games took their sweet time. CD Projekt Red was like, boom, all over it. And there's still more coming.
Yeah.
And we got a small patch before the end of Christmas for PS4, Xbox One, and everybody else. And there is in January, right after New Year, like a really large patch. They said large. So, that's all I'm trying to say. My point I'm trying to make is, you could easily. It's unbelievable and unprecedented that that Sony and them are giving like the refunds out. Microsoft is. It's just like, wow, because those other games that came out were so messed up, if not on the same level, and people yes complained, but not like this. And I don't know if that's
and there's only a few games that similar things have happened that I know of before, right? Like I think it was Batman Origins or something. Let's see, Batman Origins, right?
Yes, Batman Origins.
Steam they pulled it for Steam. Remember?
Yes.
They ported to PC and it was terrible, and they pulled it. But again, that's Steam, not PlayStation, right? But even in like PC counted too, there's just not that many examples of this happening. So
yes,
and what you were talking about, all these other buggy games. I think some of that is on a large scale, big open world. I mean, there's hundreds of hours of content there, regardless of how long the main campaign is. There's lots of content, lots of world. It's a lot of testing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain level of issues and bugs that is acceptable. And the gaming community in general seems to be less and less tolerant as years go by.
Oh, yeah.
Of that. Me personally, I've been playing games for a long time. And I've seen lots of... and there's been plenty of times where, like, some bugs and glitches and stuff, like, they're just fun, right?
Yeah.
Now, the game crashing and not being able to play it, that's not fun, and I'm not saying it is. But, again, I think it's really worth noting, you say, would you say 500 people worked on this game?
Yeah, 500.
So that's a fairly small-ish team. I mean, it's pretty, it's large scale, but you figure, I mean, even if every single member was testing it, that's 5 beta testers, right? Whatever you want to call them. When you launch to 8 million people, that's a lot more PS4s for PS4s, PCs, Xbox. It's a lot more potential for issues and a lot more people playing to find any problems. So,
oh no, I agree.
Logic to me seems to suggest that you're gonna see more things because you just got such a much larger player base playing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
exactly.
The reaction. I don't have any problem with Sony and Microsoft both offering refunds.
No, neither do I.
I hate that the gaming community in general is so toxic these days. I hate that so many people are unwilling to give situations and games like this a fair chance. You get some really weird. It's like. Seems to be like a really weird case of glitches or something that everybody latches onto, and then it becomes a joke, and then people are just, they just trash it. I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda, it was about a lot of the walking animations and stuff, right? Like, is that really a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, I understand, like,
with very nitpicky, some of that stuff, and the problem, I guess now my specific problem. Talking again about the store is the fact that Sony pulled it, and I don't know. At this point, everybody kind of knows what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just going to take away that option for people to make that choice for themselves. I mean, why not just issue refund? I mean, it seems a little counterproductive that you would sell it and then be openly say, "Hey, if you don't like this, we'll give you your money back."
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know. It just seems a little. It seems in retaliation to me.
It does. It does. It does seem like that, considering that originally it was CD Projekt Red saying get with Sony. Sony said get with CD Projekt Red. I think the big thing that some of the things that you can take away from this is so. When you go back and look at stuff, when it comes to like this particular game, and yes, it was hyped very big. So was Fallout. So was Watch Dogs, the first Watch Dogs. So was Destiny, so was, you know, a lot of things. And I want to say, you know, the difference between, I think, this game and those games, for example, already off the bat, including bugs and everything else that's going on, glitches, crashes, whatever, save files, whatever. You know, Cyberpunk 76 has, at the onset, more content and more stuff to do than any of those games. And I mean, period. Even vanilla Destiny, there was like 4 strikes, there was the raid, there was not a whole lot of NPC interaction. Fallout 76 had no NPCs. You just wandered around a lot, and Watch Dogs had huge graphical downgrades, and there wasn't a whole lot to do in the game. Updates later, they added stuff. Anthem.
Do you think
you could fly
with Mass Effect and Andromeda? Do you think does it? You were talking about amount of content. I think it's at least on par with that. Which one do you think has more?
I think Andromeda had a ton of content and a really nice multiplayer too. I to be honest with you, playing all the way through Andromeda twice, and me only within the first couple missions of this game, what I am seeing, I think it either has the same amount or if not more. But I haven't played all the way through to make that judgment. Now, I have heard, like the Witcher series, that this game, if you were to do a lot of the side stuff and start to finish, some people were, I've heard people saying, you can get as much as, 150 hours out of this game, which I could see that, with side stuff, all the fixer stuff, the different things that you can explore and do, and the traversal and the verticality and all the stuff that goes into the city. Plus, outside of the city, when you can go there, it's massive outside of the city. The map is huge, and so there's a lot to explore and see out there. Now,
I haven't even been out there, by the way.
I only able to do it because I wanted to see the differences in. And I didn't keep them, but I checked all 3 beginnings out because I was just curious. And I did the Nomad. And the Nomad, you're outside of the city, and you get to drive around, and it's massive. And in some ways, it kind of reminded me of Rage 2 a little bit, just a little bit. And it kind of reminded me of Mad Max a little bit. Different, obviously, but it was kind of neat. You had a different car, a different background. When some people were actually complaining and said, well, it says that if you pick your background changes your dialogue options and stuff, and some people said, well, I didn't see that. Well, I actually have, because I guess you're not paying attention. I did.
It clearly shows it. There's choices.
Yeah, and I did the street, which is the character I'm playing now, and then there's corporate, and your beginning is, all 3 beginnings are completely different. And because my character's from the street, a lot of the gangs in the city don't. They just kind of okay. A lot of them just let me walk by. They don't even get alerted or nothing. They just, because, he's from the street. And I've had a lot of different dialogue choices because of that. I've talked to a girl, and she's
those remind me of Mass Effect. How you would, if you had different kind of traits or skill levels or whatever, you would get different dialogue choices. Mm-hmm. And, and this is the same way. There's clearly times where it says street kid next to a dialogue choice. And I imagine it would be something different.
Yes.
If I was, because I've only done the one beginning, and I have the one character in the one game save.
Well, in the corporate side of things, what I like about it is that even when you're basically basically drummed out, and you meet up with Jackie, which, by the way, I love Jackie. He's a great character, great voice acting. I just love. He's fun to interact with.
He grew on me. I didn't like him at first.
I actually liked him kind of off from the bat. I don't know why. Just something about him. But in the corporate thing, what I like about when you play him, when you talk to other corporate people in some of the missions and stuff, your link, it's got the corporate, background. You can pull favors, stuff that you can't do at all as a Nomad or a street kid at all. And the Nomad, by the way, if you choose that, it's what's interesting about that. Most Nomads travel in packs, like gangs in a way, out there. But when you click Nomad, you've never been to Night City, ever. So you don't know shit about what goes on in the city. So again, it affects a lot of your dialogue choices. And the game is much deeper at first. There were some people saying they felt it was very linear, even though it was open world with the mission structure. I'm like, yeah, but you haven't played all the missions or even side stuff. I have been able to talk my way out of stuff. One of the early missions, you got to deal with Royce, and like instead of like guns ablazing right away, I was able to just kind of like make everybody chill, but then shit fell to pieces anyway. But the point was is like you have much more options of how you want to deal with stuff, because the game, when I'm playing it a lot, it has these elements of other games that I have played. The Nomad thing, I was like, yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Rage 2, just a little bit, not exact, but it has that kind of vibe. It's a big open wasteland out there and desert, and it's really cool, and the map is massive. And then I was like, you know what? Then I'm playing it, and I'm like, this kind of reminds me of walking around in Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. That's really cool. And then it's like, then it reminds me, but it doesn't really take away from this game. It just has that vibe, and I'm always looking around. Like, I've been walking around the city playing this video the whole time. I haven't really done anything, shot a couple guys, whatever. But the sheer magnitude, the realism, even on the PS4, it just looks really realistic. The lighting engine's good. But yeah, I think it's, again, CD Projekt Red, given, the problem that I think that hurt them in doing this. This is very different from Witcher 3. Witcher 3 was Game of the Year. I've played through Witcher 3. It is an incredible RPG. Incredible. Probably one of the best RPGs in the fantasy I've ever played, ever. With its choice options and just the story and the combat and everything in that game. If you've never played it, folks, you got to go out and play it. It's amazing. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, that's a huge thing to follow, Witcher 3 came out a couple years back, and that game just blew up, and their reputation soared because CG Projekt Red really was all about the consumer. We had DLC, we didn't overcharge for it, there's no fucking microtransactions, no bullshit in the game. You can
fight the hype from the get-go.
Yeah. And you can play that Gwent card game that's in there for hours because it's that good. And the Gwent game is so good they made it a standalone game that you can just buy if you just want to play Gwent. And I'm telling you, that's a huge game to kind of follow up with. You had a lot of people going like, man, they're making Cyberpunk, oh shit. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. You got to think, they're like, we basically made one of the greatest RPGs of all time. Now we got to follow it up with another one. Right. And not only that, Witcher 3 is a third-person game. There's no first person in that game. Yeah. Witcher 3, it was already and Witcher 3 has been using better, updated versions of an engine that they're incredibly familiar with. This is a very modified version of the engine they're used to, and they had to change a lot of stuff. And this is not the same type of game. It's another thing, just to throw it out there, people, Cyberpunk 2077 is also a looter. It's a looter shooter. And, I have found so many cool different weapons and guns and colors and mods and everything in the game. Unlike, it reminds me very much, not Borderlands level, obviously, but the guns and the stuff that you find in missions and it's incredible, the amount of different clothing options. The clothing acts as your armor, and there's so much to the game as far as its loot.
I want to talk about some of that for sure.
Yeah.
But talking about their kind of what they're up against and the expectations and stuff, and I think for one, you're going against that, and then I mentioned this toxic gaming community.
Yeah,
right?
The gaming community.
And everything I don't know really what people want, because they seem to hate everything. Right?
Oh yeah.
They hate, they hate all those games we listen. Like even these top-selling games that are kind of the premier shooters, Call of Duty, stuff like that. I hate them too, right? They come out, I see nothing but videos of, oh, this game's trash, and then eventually it gets good and more maps come out. But this game's trash. It's only got these other maps. This one was better. Mechanics are broken, whatever. And literally every game is that way.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand what people want, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, these type of games are slow burn, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to give it a chance. You have to give it a while
Yeah.
to really kind of get and you know the world and everything. Like it hit me. I started up. The music's great. It looked great. I didn't really have any issues first off, so it made a good impression on me. And then I kind of went through a period where I'm like, well, you know, I would like this world to be a little more fleshed out and maybe a little more interactive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the the story mission's great, but then I do some of the side stuff and it's not very rewarding. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is really sitting as good as I hoped for. Maybe my hype was too up, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go play it some more. So because you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I have it, so I'm gonna play it. So you know, I start really diving more into the side missions, and of course, this is another one of those games where the more you do, the more it opens up, and the more things you have, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then it's like I'm getting into like really good side missions, and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
well, you know, this content's better than what I thought as far as side mission goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you know, you just like I'm just enjoying the little stuff more and more as I go, right? Like I go into the clubs and I'm hearing the music booming, and I'm you know exploring the lore and just learning more about the world. And you know, it's not something that's just immediate satisfaction.
Yes.
Right? You got to give it a chance. And you know, what I said, I want to talk about the weapons. I mean, the gun combat is amazing in this
Yeah,
game.
it's excellent. It is
Great. It feels great. The music's on par with like Doom music. while
Yeah,
you're
they
battling.
have good combat music. Yes.
I mean, it just you know, it really gets the adrenaline going. You know, not to say it's as good as just at being a shooter as Doom is, but you know, it's got enough of that feel to do it justice, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I feel like so much of the drama and the politics and the should have done this, should have done that, just jumping on this toxic bandwagon. Everybody's missing. You know, and I understand these games aren't for everybody, but there's a ton of people that I think if they just chill out, give it a chance, give it a fair chance.
Yeah.
You know, if you can look past some of this dumb stuff, it will get better. You know, you're missing out on a really, really great game if you don't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree because I've done a couple side things for the Fixer, and a lot of it is like, hey, you know, right there was a couple people who just kind of popped in, but that's really neither here nor there. I have seen like some of the Fixer stuff because you have street cred in the game, and when you're playing the game, your street cred has to go up. As it goes up in level, and as you increase your main experience level, they do get better. You do get some really interesting side quests. Some people have said that some of the side quests last 3-4 hours. Like it just goes into its own story, and that's cool because Witcher 3 did that. Witcher 3 had some stuff I was like, I can't believe this is a side quest. It took me 2 days to complete it. You know, this is ridiculous. But everything was voiced and fleshed out, and you're like, wow, that's crazy. And this game is, like you said, it's the slow burn. You have to start small in the game. And once you start small, and as you work your way through and get better at the game, and you get your fixer contracts and your street cred level up and your main level up, and you get better weapons and better gear, and as you complete stuff, it just gets better and better. One of the things that I like about the game is they do have like these icons on the map that are like where you can see like crimes and stuff in progress. And there's a lot of icons here, but if you stop those, I've gotten some really cool gear just by stopping some random criminal elements. So and you complete a mission and you get the evidence, and it says that, you know, Night City PD like thing completed, and you basically can help the police, you know, on that level. I think that's cool, and I was able to get some decent weapons and some cool pieces of armor or clothing out of it. That's also your armor. And I like that, and I like the fact that it has a robust loot system. But you're right about the toxic community, you know, because these guys, the people out there, just hate everything. And I don't know, I don't quite get it because, you know, why just completely shit all the time on everything big that comes out? Because why? What's the point of that? Like, if you don't like any of the stuff, a lot of stuff's available to you as a person, as a gamer, before something launches, before it comes out. Previews, demos, betas. I play a lot of betas on the PS4, and that's typically the realm of PC. But they put out betas. I played the Conan beta, the Age of Conan, the survival type roleplay open world Conan game. I played the beta, and because I jumped in early, and because I put a bunch of feedback into the game, I got the game for free. I didn't pay for it. And I have played betas, and usually when I see betas on here, I grab them because I'd like to see what's coming out. And this may not have had a demo or beta, but the point is that the toxicity, like, you just can't enjoy anything, can you? Like, you just have to hate on absolutely everything, and you can't get past anything. Like, okay, that character there just slid kind of across and didn't walk, but now they sat down. Sometimes you do get, like I said, still getting a glitch here and there, but it didn't really hamper the game.
The silly thing about all this too is, like, you don't even have to buy the game the day of that it comes out, right?
No, you don't. Like, no.
Like you say, there's so many opportunities to play games early. But okay, so what if there's not in this case? Well, they didn't show if you're on the fence about it, just wait and don't get it launch day.
Yeah, wait.
For this game in particular, there was no pre-order incentive, really.
No.
So you could wait, see what it's like, check it out. YouTube, there's any given game, there's 8,000 streams of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick one, watch it for a bit, see if it's your thing, and if not, then just move on. Don't.
Yeah, and if you waited 2-3 days after launch and everybody's shitting all over it, which is what's happening now, and they're only, by the way, I want to throw this out here, only talking about PS4 standard and Xbox One standard. They're not talking about the 5, they're not talking about the Series X, they're not talking about the PC, they're just talking about 7.5-year-old hardware. That's what they're talking about, folks. And if you were to buy a PS5 or could get your hands on one, you could wait, or an Xbox Series X, buy it on that. Then you won't have these problems.
Probably run a little better. I mean, I can vouch for the Xbox. Now, I will say, one of my favorite YouTube channels ever is a Happy Console Gamer.
No, they're good. They're good. Yeah, you got me into that. Yeah.
And Johnny, he was playing this game on the PS5, and he got fed up with the crashes. So I feel like maybe the PS5 even has issues, but I don't know. I'm sure it runs better than PS4, but I haven't really heard enough people playing PS5, probably because of the availability part of it.
Probably so.
But, what I've heard, at least of the Xbox Series X, it runs pretty solid.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I don't like to say that if I'm not, like you said earlier, I'm not opposed to them refunding. I don't care if you refund the game. I think personally you shouldn't refund the game only because I feel like that if you just look past some of the issues, and again, I don't know about you, but we have been playing for almost an hour. And have you really seen anything on this PS4 version and I have the standard that would, and have you seen, has it been detrimental? I haven't really lost any frame rate. Even when I was in combat a second ago, a few minutes ago, nothing. Like, it wasn't like
certainly nothing game breaking that would.
So I don't. Yeah. So that was what this patch did, folks. One patch fixed a lot of the issues. So, and they got more coming. So, do you really want to jump the gun? Oh, I'll get rid of this. I'm like, because right now, you're going to miss out. And the game is excellent. And there really isn't anything right now like this on the system. There are games, as I said before, it reminds me of, but a little restaurant here, but it's just good. It's excellent. And I really wish people would not, like you said, be so toxic about it, convince other people. And I'm going to tell you the whole thing, too. There's this whole pre-order culture thing where it's like, man, I don't really want to miss out on that. It's kind of like when you mentioned COD. COD is pretty much still one of the big multiplayer online shooters. It's very popular. Their player base is, they got a huge player base. Not as much as maybe they used to 10 years ago, but they still have up in the millions. And what I like to tell people all the time is, like, people complain about COD like a lot, and they don't have to buy it. But part of me feels like they're like, yeah, but then everybody's playing it, and I don't want to miss out on either A, buying it and bitching about it, or buying it because, well, everybody's playing it. Because I feel like I have to play. I feel like I feel like I have to play the game because everybody else, my friends, are playing it. Like, dude, no, you don't. Like, if you truly are tired of COD, don't fucking play it. Like, it's really going to kill you not to.
That's a very silly thing. It's a very silly thing, and I agree. But I do fall victim to that too because marketing, whatever it is that works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A new game's coming out and you see it, and like, how many times? Oh man, I really want that. Like, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and get it too.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that to an extreme, but if you're dissatisfied, now I encourage everybody, especially in this pre-order world that we're in, because I do hate that game. I think everybody should make well-informed decisions on what they buy and what they spend their money on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And if you make a mistake in that, that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, and it gets a little trickier when we're talking about that information not being available to make those choices for a certain period of time. But again, if you feel uncomfortable, you don't think, you're on the fence about something, just wait and check out video. Make an informed decision.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And even if it doesn't work out and you don't like it and you're getting your refund, don't be part of the problem.
Yeah. Get your refund and move on.
It wasn't for you. It wasn't, again, not to completely let off any party, right? I feel like there are aspects of this that CD Projekt Red could probably have handled better, could have addressed.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of that, again, though, it really seems like a breakdown of communication internally because, they're not only handling their own PR, they're not only developing, but they did self-publish this game.
They did. They didn't have like Activision or Ubisoft or EA, and thank God they didn't have EA or those guys, because if they did, we would have like bootloads of gambling issues and microtransactions and maybe not loot boxes, but something similar, and XP boosters.
Who published Witcher? Was it
Witcher?
Was it them, or was
yeah,
it?
but they self-published it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
See,
or Witcher 3 might. I
think
think so. I think I'd have to go back and look. I own the game. I had to see. So the whole rigmarole of this whole thing is buyer beware, and especially in modern gaming, buyer beware, right? And you should totally be buyer beware, because you should know what you're getting into. I'm still going to stick to my original thought that I don't think there was any malice or true intention, bad intentions. Yeah, they didn't show, bad, slap them on the wrist. They should have showed the PS4 and Xbox versions. I think they really felt like that it was going to run okay because that's what they originally built the stuff on in the first place. Again, I still go back to what I said earlier in the video. They were like, because the game is a huge game. There's a lot of variables at play with the different NPCs and the talking and the shooting and all that stuff. And that's a lot to take in play, because there's the stealth, there's the open world, there's the incredible gunplay, there's the loot systems, there's the dialogue. There's a lot of stuff involved, and that is crazy to think about. And you're talking about a team of 500. Mass Effect Andromeda had like twice that, and that's an EA-backed thing. Anthem was EA, and Anthem was BioWare. They had a ton of people working on it. And it's just like, you're talking about 500 people seems like a lot of people. It is to them. And they're based out of Poland. So, they don't have a whole lot. And the government actually kind of helps them. But I just want to point out to those toxic people out there, great, you got your refund. But I'm like you. Just leave it alone at this point. There's no need to continue to throw salt in the wound that you had, because you chose to get in on it early. And again, this is really only PS4, Xbox One stuff that is really affected the most. The other systems they've talked about, but nowhere near as the old systems. And again, I go back to my original statement. The hardware's old, people. It's old. It's 7.5 years old. Come on. So...
Yeah. And I hate to I don't want to bring up a bunch of other topics, but if you look at really what's going on in the world, there's such a divide on so many things, right? Whether it's masks, vaccines, COVID, presidential,
yes,
so many things, and everybody's toxic about everything. Everybody's been out of shape. We're a very Civil War kind of culture right now, anyway, right? And
yes.
It's like games are supposed to be fun. And I get there's people's money involved, people spend a lot of stuff, but if you don't have it to spend, maybe don't spend it, right? And this is supposed to be an escapism and joy, and I don't want to see. Now, unfortunately, I'm seeing it, and I have been for quite a few years, but just this gaming community kind of falling down that same pipeline as everything else. Just I don't know, nothing's good enough, and I don't know, there's real quick, just debate about the rising in prices of next gen games and stuff, but games have been $60 since the introduction of Xbox 360, right? Before that, they were $50. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was 50. Yeah, 49.
Yeah, and then it jumped to $60 then. And we're talking these big multi-million-dollar games. Like, we're still lucky we're getting prices are kind of close to that.
Yes.
And I know there's a lot of microtransactions, and it's a bunch of other topics for other things. But
yes,
my point of all that is there's just so much opinion, and with YouTube, there's so much negative to just fall into, and I really, really enjoy conversing with and listening to people that are still about finding the good of games and approaching things kind of for what they are, and not nitpicking every little thing to death.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, and I mean, the price point stuff and everything into that, and like you said, that's a whole nother can of worms there, because it's just with this game in particular, it's been very divisive, and
it's more just yet another instance.
And more so than any other thing, because this game sets sets that standard now, because what's going to happen is because all it would take is the same community to be like the next, let's just say, for example, another Battlefield comes out, and it's not up to everybody's liking, even if it runs better than this or anything. It sets that standard, like, well, we got them to refund us on this, let's make them refund us on Battlefield. Let's make us, if it's just, it could go really south and really quick on that end, and I think that is stupid, and I don't think anybody should be it shouldn't open that door for this to happen again. If anything, I also blame part of the community, like you said, with the uninformed decision. So if you go back the last couple years and you go, well, let's see, Anthem, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Watch Dogs 1, oh man, then we got Destiny 1, Fallout 76, and all these big titles, and man, I just keep buying them, and they just keep screwing me over. Man, do I blame the developers, or smarten the fuck up, people? Like, what the fuck, you're a bunch of goofs. Like, you can't even figure out the fact that you keep buying these games, and you keep seeing these E3, which is all just a big shareholder thing anyway anymore. So you're just buying into like, oh, it's going to be this, and it's never that. And I find that kind of humorous. It's like you're just going to continue to buy into it over and over and over and over and over again. And how many times are you going to get duped? before you learn. Now, I bought Fallout 76,
Me
and
too.
it was now let me tell you, it was so bad that after a couple days of playing, I uninstalled it, and I said I will come back to it when it's better. And now that it's better, and it's got NPCs and feels more like Fallout 4 but online, now I can play it. It might be a year later, but I kept it. I didn't ask for a refund. I knew Modern Gaming, they'll fix it at some point, and I can always download it because by the time they fixed it, I'd been able to enjoy several other games, so, because there's always shit coming out every month. It's not even
Yeah.
like the
Look
end
at
of the
No
year
Man's
now.
Sky.
Yeah. No Man's Sky, I played it. I actually weirdly liked the vanilla version, but that's just
I
me.
do too.
But I
I
knew
do.
I knew that there was a lot more that it needed. But you look at it now, it's like wow, it's like
Night and
a
day.
space. It's
Yeah.
like a space MMO. I mean, you just play it and play. So I look at it like, man, how many times are people just gonna buy into the stuff that they hype and buy into that? How many times are you gonna buy game after game after game after game, and still be mad? Like, that's kind of your fault at this point. Like you said earlier, wait till the game comes out. You don't have to buy it at launch. You don't have to buy it at midnight. You don't have to trick your system and play it days early. Just wait and see what people say. And you know what? You could have been like, well, I'll just save myself $60. Maybe I'll pick it
Except for
up in
you
a
do have to trick your system to play
yeah,
early like
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. But what I mean, yeah, but you know what I
No,
mean.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And and if you're ultimately in the end unsatisfied, and you can get your refund, then just play something you do enjoy, right? It's really that simple. You don't. It's not. Let's ruin the launch for everybody else.
yes, exactly.
Because I'm
Because
personally loving the game.
yeah, I am too. I'm really enjoying it, and been playing it now for a little while here. Now there's solid textures kind of finally pop in there. It
You
took
know,
less than a second, and there has been a couple flubs here and there in this gameplay that I've been doing, but that's it. That's it.
and I hate to even acknowledge it because it's been such a thing, and I get tired of hearing it as an excuse. But almost anything in the world right now is broken and slow, and the response is, oh, because of COVID, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, okay, as silly as that is, the truth is it really did impact so many things,
Hmm.
and I don't see how, under any circumstance, it did not affect the tail end of this game, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
And I've heard, I've now I haven't been a developer myself, right?
Yeah,
But any kind of anything behind the scenes, making of any kind of document, um, most of the game gets done at a certain stage, and then so much time of the development is spent on polishing and
hmm hmm
um, just making it the performance and polishing and optimization, right? So
yes,
if that's this COVID stuff and lockdown stuff and people being forced to work from home, that's been going on for about a year
yeah,
almost.
yeah, pretty much.
That's a lot of this development time.
Yes, it is. And I wanna say that to the community out there, that just the haters drinking your haterade out there and your bullshit, like you gotta just get the fuck over it, man. Like, I mean, look, how many games anymore? I mean, look, it it's like those people who bitch about Madden, but you buy it because there is no other option. I get that, because you have no other option for a football game, and you see
Yeah.
Madden 19 should things were they were pointing out, oh, they just reused assets and all that. Okay, I get it. You don't have any other choice. You might be able to get Maximum Football 2020, or you can get Madden, and it's like nobody's going to buy the other one, so Madden's all you've got. But you got to think on this game. How many other open world first person shooters could I buy that would,
Yeah.
instead of this, let's see here, like the four
There's
Far
so much
Cries,
content coming out these days.
Homefront, Destiny. I could name like dozens of first person shooter open world games on PS4 that you could play. Shadow Warrior 2. I mean, just to name a few. Like, you don't, if you're wanting a good substitute, there's plenty. You know, go back and play Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. The game's pretty much perfect. It plays
Go
fine.
play The Witcher.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like
You know,
it's like I just want to say that those toxic people out there, and it's not because I'm some CG Project Red fanboy. I'm not, and it's not because I'm some, oh, I'm just all about, oh, he loves Cyberpunk. Like I do like the game a lot. I think it's great. I just what irks me is they hate it, and ergo everyone else should hate it, and let's and it's like I need everyone to agree with me. It's like that's not how this works. Like just because I
yeah.
like it, you don't need to attack nobody. You don't need to, like you said, get your refund and move on.
Well,
you
look,
know.
a quick example that popped in my head while you were talking about that. You remember back in the day, Elder Scrolls Oblivion
Mm-hmm.
was that was I mean that's my top RPG, right? Elder
Mm-hmm.
Scrolls universe,
Mm-hmm.
love it. I was playing Oblivion. Two Worlds came out, right? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, another game like that. That's awesome. And I get it, and I'm like, I don't know about this game. And you really fell in love with it and liked
Yeah,
it.
I love that game. Still one of my favorite
And I
games.
was kind of guilty, probably, of jokingly crapping on it. I'm like, okay, this game's terrible. But you found things to like about it. I didn't try to ruin your experience. You know what I did? I went and played Elder Scrolls because that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to play. I liked it
Yeah,
better.
no, that's a good point because Two Worlds, had just terrible voice acting. But I remember they put that super patch out for it, which fixed again a ton of problems in the game. And I think if memory serves, I think you just gave it to me because you were like, "Fuck this game." I think you were like, "Fuck this game." I think you just gave it to me. That's the only reason I owned it. And you know what? It's one of those things. Oblivion is a great RPG. I think what it was with Two Worlds was the game world itself was massive. It's a huge map, and all that stuff, and just things about the game that I don't know what it was. There was something about its gameplay and
It's
its
charm,
world,
right?
and yeah, something about it, and I just thought it was great. Now, for all intents and purposes, Oblivion is a superior game. However,
Yeah. It's not about
however,
that, though,
it's not
right?
about that. Yeah, exactly. Now, and I think the communities nowadays are, especially now, in modern gaming, are like the game. The game has to be able. It's got to be perfect, and a lot of it is the. And I've touched base on this on the gaming roundtable before, which is expectation versus realization, where you're looking at screenshots, you're looking at the PC version of the game running at 60 frames, you're looking at all this crazy stuff, and you're in your mind, the gamer's thinking, well, that's how it's going to be. And it may not be that way. And I talked about it in a video where I talked about Destiny 1 before it came out. Some reviewer really kind of was really disappointed. I saw the spaceships and I just my mind was like, wow, you'll be able to fly around. And I saw the shooting. I'm like, okay, so first of all, Bungie said from the get-go the spaceships were not usable, and they said they were a loading screen, so I don't know what the fuck he was not paying attention to. But the point was
Yeah.
is you gave it a lower score because your expectation was different than the actual game itself, the realization. So you can sit there and look at everything that Cyberpunk was showing and doing in magazine articles and videos and in previews and all this stuff, and you're gonna look at that and maybe gamers' minds were like, wow, it's gonna be, I want to let me do everything. I can just do all the stuff, and I'm gonna be able to do this, and their minds are enraged. So when they got the game, and it was built up much more in their head than what the realization was.
Yeah.
So they it's not even, it goes beyond just the hype. It goes into, you saw it, this is what you thought it was, oh, this is what you built up. And
Yeah.
you can't as a person in anything, including gaming, be like, well, this is what I thought it was going to be. So because you thought it was going to be that way, your expectations were much higher than the realization
Yeah.
of what the game really was going
Well,
to
and
be.
it's important to realize just the journey of development, though, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when we see these first glimpses of these games, it's usually way early on,
Oh yeah.
before a lot of decisions are made. As you progress, sometimes you have to make sacrifices to get it to run how you want it to do. So like
Mm-hmm.
things get added, removed all throughout,
Mm-hmm.
and there's arguably some communication that needs to happen if you've shown something and it's no longer in there.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but
Mm-hmm.
a big part of that is marketing too, right?
Yes.
And I mean, we're in a country to where marketing matters and marketing makes a difference,
Mm-hmm.
and games are no exception to that. There's going to be a level of marketing and say, hey, look, this game's going to be everything you want it to be and more, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just think about watching those GI Joe commercials and stuff back in the day, or Transformers, and like the commercials, just like you would think those toys played with themselves and moved and talked, and then you get and that shit never did what it did
Oh
on a
no.
commercial. You know what I
No,
mean?
no, no. Yeah, exactly. And that's
So
that.
it's
That's
just this.
yeah.
It's the game we play in the world, just in general, commercialism. But I don't know. I mean, with anything, make an educated purchase. Check into what you're buying, and when you spend your money on something and you don't like it, maybe just learn from it. It's not everybody else's fault necessarily.
No, I agree with you, and I think, I think the lesson to be learned with this particular title, both CD Projekt Red is partially to blame, obviously, because we are not going to completely let them shirk that responsibility. But I also blame the gaming community for their toxicity and the things that they are, that they do that we discussed. I think was it, you know, we've also discussed the intent behind CD Projekt Red doing. Okay, did they since they didn't show us the PS4 or Xbox, things running, and that's the original hardware. Does that mean, and they, again, if I feel like if they were just trying to intentionally fuck people over, so to speak, did they did they do it intentionally? I don't believe so. I think they felt at the time, because that's what the one of the managers said, that we felt it was going to run okay on the systems. We didn't show it, and in hindsight, we should have. We were showing the PC build because that's what we built the game upon in the first place. And you have to look at it, on that point of view. And yes, they offered game review codes for every single system, and then a few days later, a couple days later, it was only for PC. Is right before launch. Some people looked at that as like, well, they pulled away because they knew it was going to be bad. I think that's not the case either. I think the PC build was the most stable and ready to go version, so they only offered reviewers the PC version. Some people have even stated, well, they weren't even allowed to show their gameplay. They had to show videos that they had put out and then reviewed the game without the reviewer's gameplay. And some people said, well, that's because CD Projekt Red knew it was this or knew it was that. No, I believe that's because the game, because of its open-ended mission design and backgrounds and talking and discussing, and the NPCs, they weren't trying to spoil anything for somebody. They didn't want somebody to review the game and go like, hey, this part of this mission I was doing, and I think that's where that came from. I think that's why they didn't want to let people use their own footage, because they weren't trying to spoil it for the world. This was something they wanted everyone to experience from the get-go. So were communication issues. Obviously, CD Projekt Red is run by human beings, so they are flawed and fallible like the rest of us. Was there some things they could have done different? Yeah, but so could have Todd Howard with Fallout 76, and so could, a lot of different, BioWare with Anthem, and a lot of things, because, the live service stuff, which this game isn't, but live service is never worked. Marvel's Avengers, has been continuously updating, and it's still got issues. and it really tanked, and its player base is all but gone, and it's a shame. But they still are plugging away at it, trying to make it better, and it's again one of those things that community. With the Marvel Avengers, it's the same thing I said earlier. It's the expectation versus realization, and if you have this crazy expectation and you're seeing things, you build it up in your head, and then when the game comes out, then all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute, but how can you beat the own hype in your head? And you can't.
Yeah.
So if you got a
And
refund,
the flip
great.
side of showing some of that stuff too, who's really going to show the worst version of the game? Right?
Nobody.
You want to show the premium experience. You want to show what that game's capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe on the flip side, maybe moving forward, maybe that's what should happen in these gaming demos and stuff. To be like, okay, this is the worst experience you could have. It only gets better from here.
Yeah.
Like, is it really what we want to have happen?
Yeah. And again, it goes back to the whole thing where gamers, the community, the toxic community, which is a lot of huge percentage of it, they're completely 100% blaming the developer, and when they've had, like you said earlier, you made the best point. You didn't have to get it at launch. You could have made a better informed decision in the process. So why didn't you? And it goes back to you didn't want to miss out, but you know what? In modern gaming, with as many patches and as much updating and everything, and updates at launch and all the stuff, right? If again, like, all these big titles do it, they all do it. So if you really, again, it's that if you expected that not to be the case, because The Witcher 3 was one of the greatest RPGs ever made, I will let you know that The Witcher 3 at launch was buggy as shit and had problems on the consoles. It was patched out rather quickly, and they didn't waste no time. But the point was, but that never stopped anybody from playing it. It was really good. I think something about this game, Cyberpunk, that just people would just lost their mind over. They just were so excited for this game and so ready to play it, and so because they've been following it for a few years. But to be honest,
I think something that's not that some people don't really take into account either is this whole release date for games. Like, it's kind of new, isn't it? I mean, I don't remember. I mean, just a few generations ago, games were just out when they were out. You didn't know when the fuck anything was showing up. Like, you'd go in the store, there'd be some new game. Like, the bigger games kind of had dates. But, I mean, I remember just, okay, is this game out yet? We didn't, you didn't even know.
Yeah.
And now you're kind of forced to pick this date as a developer when things are going to be finished.
And unfortunately, the byproduct of that, if people who, again, let me try to smarten everybody up out there that shouldn't be at this point, the byproduct of that particular problem is that because those release dates are there, because they're looking at other game launches, where they're like, these other games are coming out, we don't want to compete, or we need a better shot at doing something. It's those developers and the publisher, even if it's self-published, they do have management, and they say, hey, you got to make this deadline, and when it comes to pass, okay, put it out, because you got to put it out, because hell, it's almost Christmas, put it the fuck out, so they're under pressure. And I wouldn't say this game was rushed, but I would say that it may have been put out maybe a month or two earlier than maybe it needed. But I don't think there's anything to be blamed on the developer, because even they admitted that maybe we did need a little bit more time. We thought it was good, maybe it wasn't. So I think that's the thing.
In the end, I'm just glad it's out. I'm glad I'm playing it. I mean, it's buggy, but I can overlook that stuff.
Me
Whatever.
too.
It's fine. I love the game.
Me too. I think it's good, and I think those who refunded the game was a mistake, because anyone that will watch this video in the future, hopefully our followers, our subscribers out there to the Unpaid Gamers, and newcomers will see that this is a standard PS4 I'm playing on, and it's been running pretty good. So you all jumped the gun on that refund, man. Like you're all gonna miss out on something good. Maybe later you can get it on sale, or maybe later you can pick it up, or maybe you'll go back and re-pick it up. Who knows? But at the end of the day,
that's the unfortunate side effect of all this is all this drama is going to happen. The game, everywhere I've seen it, you could usually just get it for like $40 anyway, as it was, and now it's going to be this bargain basement title because of all this stuff. You know,
it's sad because this has actually affected CD Projekt's bottom line. They have lost, like, I think it was 13% of their shares went down because of the toxicity of this. This company is ultimately, they said, going to lose X amount of dollars. It's like somebody was saying in the realm of like the billions, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, what you all don't get is when you review bomb stuff like this and this kind of stuff happens, there are people who will lose their jobs, and they probably don't deserve to lose their jobs. They were doing the best job they could under the pressure they had, under delays and everything else they were trying to do. So I really feel like at the end of the day that, you know, you are affecting people, and nobody deserves to lose their job because a game has some bugs and some glitches. You know, I mean, that's how I feel. But it is getting kind of late in the day for me, and I don't know about you, but for me, I do have to get up early, and I do want to wrap this up real quick, and I really appreciate you, John, coming on board with this. Me and you like this game a lot, where we looked and deep dived into some of the issues it has, and just talked about the different things that CD Projekt Red faced, and we put the blame. It's kind of maybe a 60-40 kind of situation, but we talked about a lot of good points here with this game, and what what is going on with it, and the refunds and the settings and everything going on. And you made some great points, and this has been a great time. I mean, we kind of flubbed up on the Red Dead. Maybe we'll get back to that at one point. Well, maybe I'll do a second open world week, you know, or something for the gaming roundtable. But Unpaid Gamers, guys, to closing, my closing thoughts on it is Cyberpunk 2077 is not without its faults, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's still a rock solid experience, and you know, it's a good game, and it's only going to get better with the updates and patches. And you know, again, I'm running on a standard PS4, and it ran very good tonight with very little to no hiccups. So if you jump the gun, you jump the gun. You shouldn't have. You should have stuck with it, because it's only been out a week, and it's already running better than it did 2 days after launch. So, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that I look forward to continuing to play and get into and have fun with. So if you are on the fence and you haven't bought it, you know, go ahead and get it, because it is running decent now on the old systems.
Yeah,
and
well, if you can get it.
If you can get it, yeah, exactly, because it got removed from the store. But it's just definitely, it's worth, I think, your money, even with everything going on, because it's definitely better than 76 was at launch. It's definitely better than Vanilla Destiny at launch. It's definitely better than Anthem at launch. It's definitely better than a lot of these. But you got to remember, those were live service games. This isn't. So, and that's a big difference, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, this has been another awesome episode of the Gaming Roundtable. This is December 18th, going into 19th soon, but 18th. With Cyberpunk 2077, a deep dive. I didn't name it, but maybe we just call it a deep dive. And I hope you join me again, John, on another episode. I'd love to have you when you get into some other games and whatnot. Again,
we got the technical parts worked out.
Exactly. And maybe we can revisit that Red Dead. I might do another open world week. Who knows? I would like to. I am still going to bring the last two couple Warhammer games I didn't get to do during Warhammer Week because holidays and stuff. It's been hectic, like I talked about in my announcements video. And again, check out Posthuman Guy's Leisure Plays and podcasts. His Leisure Plays, he's got the new systems, and you can check out the Miles Morales Spider-Man in Action and Empire of Sin, and there's some other games I'm sure down the road. He's doing the Halo, as he said, and what's not to like about Halo? Halo's excellent, a great shooter, classic, so check out those gameplays, and check out Banlos on the Apex Legends. This is I think they're in season 5, and there's some interesting winter stuff going on there. And of course, as always, the People's Machines Gaming Roundtable, where I am bringing you the games and the subjects and the different things and the state of plays and the what the fuck videos, and and just to keep a reminder, before the end of the year, I hope to have the year in review, and we'll talk about that. Maybe I can get John, you to join in on that. That'll be a fun one. And
sure.
So we will see you next time on the next episode of the Gaming Roundtable, brought to you by Unpaid Gamers on YouTube and on Twitch. And thank you again, Posthuman Guy, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anytime, my friend, anytime. And as always, gamers, good gaming.